Video on. Oh, right. Okay. Oh, well, thank you, everybody, and welcome to the Golden Bay Community Board meeting for May. I'll just hand over to Chris and Robert for our Karakia and Rio and Sign.
Kia ora tātou, Picnic koe Chair Abby, nā mai hoki mai kam, Karakia tātou, tua ki runga, tua ki raro, tua ki roto, tua ki waho, tua tātou te tangata, ki te kaupapa o te hui nei, ki te kaupapa o te rangi nei, mauri ora ki a tātou katoa. Bind above, bind below, bind within, bind beyond, bind us the people, to the purpose of our meeting and to the purpose of this day, and bring some light into all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Robert. No apologies today. Anyone need to leave in a particular? Okay, so we'll move straight into our public forum. We have 30 minutes for public forum, with our speakers allocated 5 minutes each, with the exception today of Karen, who's representing the organisation. Speakers must be respectful of good reputation and criticism of elected members and or staff, and avoid speaking on matters subject to legal proceeding. So first up we have Karen. Welcome.
It's me, Karen.
Yes, sorry, from the museum, Karen. Yes, sorry, Karen.
That's right.
Karen Dawson.
Good everyone. So Karen Johnson from the Golden Bay Museum. Do you want me to just talk to my?
Yes, whatever works for you.
Yeah. So I think it was at your last meeting you approved the our request to put a mural on the building over at the museum. We've still got to have further discussions with the property people. I had other discussions with them, and now we're just wanting to apply for some funding to assist us with attaching a mural. Presumably you all have a copy of the application. So we're requesting funding from the Golden Bay Community Board Discretionary Fund of up to 500. We're putting in $790.90. Sorry, that's from the artists and funds from the museum towards this project. Another question? To explain any more, I guess you've seen the picture we've put in.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Karen?
No, just to say it's a great amount of detail, and it's very good to have that outline of the project and all the contributing people and factors. Thank you. Cool.
So there was so did you have anything else to add?
Don't think so. Well, yeah, as I said, we'll talk to property services before we do the finals.
Yeah, that was the main point of our discussion, wasn't it? The concern for the where it was going to be on the building and how it's going to be
definitely
protected, both the mural and the building itself.
So the product that the mural is being printed on is water. That's outdoor, so it's not going to be an issue. We definitely have issues about making sure that the building is watertight, because that'll affect us hugely if it's not. So it's top about us.
Well, I don't have any further.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming over.
Thanks
For such a detailed, as Chris said, detailed application. It made it really easy.
Okay, and thanks for considering it.
Thank you. Our next speaker up is Andrew Yuill on Sam's Creek.
In archives, I have some facts about the proposed arsenic mine at Sam's Creek. I'll table these two papers. One's a geological report, a published geological report, and I've written the other one to show the implications of the report. The immediate proposal in front of us is to mine a so-called bulk sample and put it through the Macraes mine works in Otago. But it makes no sense to do that unless we will one day allow the full-scale mine. They've found 75,000 tonnes of arsenic, 3,500 tonnes of zinc, 1,500 tonnes of lead, and 19 tonnes, not 19,000, but 19 tonnes of gold, all mixed up in 10.7 million tonnes of rock. It's hard to get a grasp of what 11 million tonnes means. So imagine this, for example, if you go out of the building here to the Telegraph Hotel, down to the dairy factory, across the high school, back up Commercial Street to here, that is a triangle of about half a square kilometre. If you mined that much rock, ground it up and poured it on this area, it would bury the whole of that area, essentially Takaka, 11 metres deep. You would see the microwave tower and the dairy factory top sticking out of it, and that's about it. As to the arsenic, 75,000 tonnes is enough to poison everyone in the world. To get an idea of the proportions, because it's hard to grasp 11 million of anything, if you take 11 tonnes, you would basically fill one of those 10-tonne Fulton Hogan roadworks trucks, but overloaded, full of rock, and distributed through it would be 75 kilos of arsenic. Well, in my overcoat and boots, I'm about 75 kilos, and around about half of this amount of gold distributed through the truckload of rock. The twist is that the mining company wants to take away the gold and leave us with the arsenic, the lead, and the zinc in the waste heap somewhere in the valley. Apart from the heavy metals, I would invite you also to think about the greenhouse gas footprint. Mining rock, transporting and grinding and chemical extraction are all heavy energy users, and it would make no sense for us to be telling our farmers to reduce their carbon footprint while at the same time opening up a huge new carbon footprint in the same valley. Central government has proposed to fast-track the approval of this mine, which would completely bypass consideration for our environment. You know, of course, of my involvement in the Water Conservation Order for Te Waikarepupu, and this mine would sooner or later be at risk of causing a disaster for the aquifer and the springs. Besides that, we can't afford to pollute our farm's irrigation water, the dairy company water supply, and all our drinking water, which we all take from the same attachment. So I will leave you with the numbers and the consequences of these published numbers. And that's, I think, all I really need to say at the moment. Thank you for your time.
We've got a couple of questions, Andrew, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's
Great,
fine.
and then we'll go Shirley and then Grant.
Thank you. Isn't there something else there called antimony?
There is a very small amount. I think it appears in the list here. There's bismuth. There's a significant antimony deposit in Reefton, which the same consortium of foreign mining companies has an interest in.
Right. So in terms of Sam Creek, I know that it's sort of topical because of car batteries and stuff. But in Sam Creek, they're not saying that there could be a source of antimony for the sake of car batteries.
No, it's certainly not a useful source of antimony. If you have a look at the table on page 4 here, It was right down the bottom of the list. No, it's not even there.
Right, okay, thanks. Just one more question. And the other thing is, are you aware of, with the fast track process, I know that the law hasn't gone through yet, but what would be the possible legal standing of the water conservation order? Should this be fast tracked?
Well, the conservation order is under the Resource Management Act, and the way the fast track legislation is being drawn up, it would bypass the Resource Management Act and put that at the bottom of the list of priorities which ministers have to consider, and development and profit has to go at the top of that list. So essentially it would trump any protection that we have for the springs through the conservation order or through the Resource Management Act.
Thank you.
Yeah, how much zinc did you say?
3,500 tonnes.
So, would they not use that? I mean, zinc is something that would they not just take that away as well? Because I mean, that's.
No, the difficulty is whether the cost of extracting stuff from the truckload of rock would pay you for the trouble of doing it.
Right.
Sorry. If what you could sell it for,
yeah,
would pay you for the trouble of taking it out.
and
There is almost no gold in that truckload, but it's worth $75 a gram to sell. Whereas arsenic, you can buy. I looked it up. You can buy a ton of arsenic for $1,000 US. You know, exported from China. If you want it high purity, then that's a little more.
Chris, you had a, oh, sorry. Doug.
Sorry, that and so that is the same with lead and the other metals that are minerals that are being found.
Yeah,
I'm only interested in the gold as far as we know.
That's the only thing that conceivably they would get some silver out of it. There's rather less silver than gold, and silver doesn't sell for as much as gold, so it's not looking attractive. The essential process is that they dig the rock out of Sam's Creek, which is in very steep country. They would have to transport it all, presumably by some aerial ropeway that they construct with buckets on it, to flatland near Upper Takaka. You're well aware that flatland near Upper Takaka has a direct line into the aquifer, and also the river flows past that. So it's injecting it right into the heart of the catchment. And they would then grind it to a sort of talcum powder size to make sure that the chemicals that they're going to apply can get at every part of the rock. They then treat it with cyanide, which makes the gold soluble, and they pump out the cyanide impregnated rock slurry with extra water to somewhere where they can settle it and leave it, hopefully, to stay secure forever. But these things have a notorious history of breaking.
Was that 11 million tons of rock?
Yeah, that's what the report says.
Thank you for this, Andrew. And could we get these reports scanned and emailed to us?
Already been, Andrew's
Oh, great, thank you. So we'll get those by email.
they'll be distributed.
Yeah, thank you. So currently the permit is an exploration permit still?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and do you know whether the application for the mining permit relates to the whole shebang, like full scale mining up there, or there's some interim thing usually at the bulk?
I don't think there is at present an application for a mining permit. They would get to that stage later, but under the present law, they own the prospect, and so they're entitled to apply for taking a bulk sample, and if that gives them the sort of answer that they're looking for, then they are first in line to apply for a mining permit.
Yeah. So the fast track consent does sequence for the bulk.
The intention is that the fast track consent will apply to everything. So they would get the bulk sample processed, which is essentially to see what to put it through a commercial process and see how well it reacts to the sort of treatment that they give it, or whether the rock has unforeseen possibilities and difficulties. They are then able to Skype to their shareholders and investors look what we've got here, it's even more certain than it was before, look at our capital gain. And then they can say either we will sell this right to another company to mine, or we will mine it ourselves.
Yeah.
That's roughly how the law works.
Thank you.
Grant, you had a problem.
That actually leads me really into what I was going to ask just now. Is it possible that they just use this in the long term as a trading commodity and don't actually mine it because it's just as valuable in the ground if you own the rights to it?
That might make common sense, but it hasn't been done anywhere in the world.
Any further questions? Great, thanks so much, Andrew. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.
Jennie Morris. Welcome, Jennie.
Do you mind if I stand?
No, I
Just
don't
so
know
you could
what it
hear
is.
that lady who's sitting down there.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, those who don't know me. My name's Jennie Morris. I live at Karakia, have done for the last 21 years. Firstly, I must say, getting registered to actually stand up here was very ageism. There are still a lot of old people in the bay, included. I rang the office, was told that I could only register online. I asked, what about people who don't have internet, don't do the internet? Well, in that case, you'd have to go to the library, get them to do it. It's not good enough for us old people at all. We do pay our rates. Right, to get what I was going to say about, I would like to know why, when I walk on Harbour Beach, that I can't go north or whichever south, whatever it is, up past the reserve entrance, and haven't been able to do so for the last 3 years, 365 days of the year. I don't know any birds are free for 365 days of the year, do you? Other beaches have the signs taken down when it's not seized. And most dog owners are very responsible. You know, if we know our dogs might run after a bird, we put them on a lead. My dog walks past them like they don't exist. It's just not, I just want to know why I can't do it. And according to the 2014 dog bylaw, that shows that the dog ban is just for the per-parrot inlet. So therefore, the whole length of that beach from the reserve up to the inlet should be accessible 365 days a year. I would like to say also, for the future, when we're thinking about actually stopping going on the beaches at all with dogs, that it is for our own health, well-being, mine as well as my dog. We need to be able to walk the dogs. They need to be able to have interaction with other people. And sometimes it's the only person I'll see or speak to in a day. That's not very good for your mental health if you can't get up and go anywhere. My old dog used to have arthritis and he couldn't walk on the road, couldn't walk on the path. His feet would bleed. So he could only walk on the beach. My health is such that I have to drive to the beach and walk on the beach. That gives me the opportunity, and it's attainable, that I can keep up some level of fitness where I can't go walking up hills. So I need to be able to go to walk on the beach. I need to be able to go there with my dog. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. And Andy, implications. Seems great. Welcome,
Thank you.
Andy.
I'm here and here to support Andrew's presentation. I've already read his documentation, so I have a very good understanding of what he's put forward. In my view, the potential risk from the gold mine may pose the greatest threat to the long-term viability of Golden Bay that any proposal floated in the 40 years that I've lived in Golden Bay. To create a waste dump where if it leaks, you can't stop it leaking, and it gets into the aquifer, and it gets into the aquifer forever. It keeps leaking. When the water conservation order was sorted out for the Pupu, there is the ability to reduce the nitrate input. When you have arsenic in the bottom of a waste pile, and then it starts leaking, you can't stop it. So every water supply that taps into that is stuck. And so the big question is, what would the effect be on Golden Bay's viability if the whole of the Takaka Valley's farming activities, the marine activities offshore that have the downstream effect of that potential pollution, how does that affect the whole viability of Golden Bay? How does the dairy company keep functioning when quite a percentage of the suppliers may not be able to produce milk? So to start a mining, especially a gold mining, is the most unsustainable land use possible. To extract a huge volume of material from beneath the ground and toxically separate the tiniest fraction that humanity doesn't actually even need, and then leave the mess behind for the locals to deal with when the mine inevitably becomes unviable, makes no sense at all. Don't we have enough issues to deal with climate change forcing us into more sustainable land use and energy use practices as it is? To highlight how toxic the operation will be, New Zealand drinking water standards only allow a maximum of 0.6 of a milligram per litre of cyanide in our drinking water. That's the noxious stuff used to separate the gold from the 10.7 million tonnes of the finely ground up everything else. That's the same stuff that kills very effectively possums. But the drinking water status requires 60 times less. That's a maximum of 0.01 milligrams per litre of arsenic in our drinking water to be acceptable. So in terms of the potability of the water, it's 60 times worse for that byproduct that they're producing 75 tonnes of and disposing of it on the what is effectively the sponge of our aquifers. So I went through all the different businesses that would be affected by that, and it's farming in the Takaka Valley, the aquaculture industry, if the salmon farm. I'm sure iwi would be absolutely horrified to have such pollution cropping up in the Pupu Spring. And then there's the tourism. Imagine we promote ourselves as the wonderful jewel in New Zealand, and the first view of people coming over the top of the hill after they go past the Keep Golden Bay Beautiful sign is a toxic dump visible from the first lookout. That's the size, as Andrew pointed out, of the triangle of Takaka, 11 metres deep.
Coming up to 500 feet.
So I personally think there is a desperate and urgent need for a public meeting to inform and hear back from the community of the potential issues and concerns and facilitate any actions required. In the past, the Golden Bay Community Board has been the main driver of of getting resolution from some of the major issues. We went from a one policeman police station to a 4-1 through the community board's lobbying Parliament. We ended up securing our hospital by lobbying Parliament. Maybe it's time that the community board stood up and had a public meeting and coordinated what's needed to happen coming out the other side of this issue. Unfortunately, this decision out the other side is a political decision, which doesn't mean to say it's a common sense decision. And it's very, very hard to fight a political decision. But if the Golden Bay community was seen to be united in a direction to going forward, then that's probably the most effective thing we can do for our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Always nice to hear from you. So that brings us to the end of our public forum speakers. Thank you to all of our speakers. We'll move into any declarations of interest regarding items on the agenda for any board meetings today. No? Robert?
Don't think so.
Just checking. Excellent. Okay, so we'll move into confirming the minutes from the 8th of April. I'm happy, Grant's happy to move that they're approving the record. Can I have a second, please? I'll second, that's fine. All those in favour? Excellent minutes. Oh, yeah, you broke my pen with nothing. Anyway, any late items? No? Good. Always good. So we'll move into our presentation from our Harbourmaster update with Kelly. I think it's Kelly on Zoom. Kelly's here. Oh, even better. Sorry, Kelly. Welcome.
Good day, everybody. So I had a PowerPoint presentation that I forwarded. Yeah, thank you. Get that. Must have seen that. So as part of the Harbourmaster Office, we identified the need in an area where we could make some signage around Tesla. Identifying specific areas where multi-agency signs could be effective and provide a one source of information for all roadies and users, rather than having multiple signs with all different agendas, kind of cohesively getting the message across about road safety and all the rules and regulations in regards to that. We are working with DOC and MPI. But love the idea of being able to share costs, that kind of thing as well. Less effect on the environment by having less signs. We've got different areas of land ownership, which obviously we have to go away around, whether it be DOC land or TDC land or whatever it is. But essentially, it's like for like with regards to where the signs are, and just identify areas where we could possibly put up more signs. As you can see by the pictures on there. There are some sites that are pretty old and tired, so it's just making it attractive.
Has come up on Facebook as well on our local community pages, so it's quite good timing.
Yeah, it's quite a big task. We are applying for some funding for help with replacing the signs through Maritime New Zealand's FED application. So we're going through the process of obviously identifying sites and what it's going to cost for design and getting DOC and the PI on agreement of who's going to do the design work and keeping the theme the same throughout. And by doing it, you're
can we ask questions as you go, or would you prefer us to hold until the end?
I don't mind. You can ask questions as we go.
Sure. So the signs are only going to be for navigational safety, marine rules and regulations, or can we incorporate, say, for example, the dog restricted area one?
Absolutely.
Can we?
I think the dog area within there as well too. Like
cool.
We can get one sign that because it harnesses that as well too.
Great.
And then people have got the one kind of source of what they're looking at. It's presented nicely. It's consistent. They're seeing the same rules across the testing, so they will learn them kind of.
Sorry, just and Celia's got a question too now. Sorry, Kelly. Hey, Grant.
I think you were before.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, look, mine's just that, which agencies, we have we not got to that yet?
All the agencies would be DOC, MPI, which is the fisheries, and ourselves. So we are got consultation with Yuill, you guys, and we will take this to the Karakia community board as well to let them know what we're doing in the area to affect everybody in the Tasman region.
Yeah, well, with the dog signs, they need to go to different places.
Yeah, the dog specific signs, ours would be like if you've got a maritime sign, as part of that, you would have like a really light ticket sign, drinking alcohol sign, that. So it would be putting those type of dog cross signs through that area, and that kind of stuff. Because a lot of people will take dogs on their boats, and then they'll go into other places
Oh,
where
I
they get off the
see.
boat, and then
Right.
the dogs may not be allowed on that area of the beach or that kind of stuff as well.
So,
So
it's for people on boats, so that rather than
Yeah.
you're allowed to have a dog on the beach.
yeah, correct.
Okay, Celia, I thought, yeah.
Yeah,
Predominantly, would be at the boat ramp sign. So
Right,
people
so
are
it's
just
just
okay,
around
now I
the-
understand that.
so the dog, the dog only sign on beaches and stuff, that's they have their own kind of signage for that. But we could incorporate with no dog being in particular areas and articulate that, particular boat ramps if we're going across certain areas. People would know in advance and they can, with the dog, the boat, in the places.
Chris.
Be a bit of an art, won't it, to be able to have a signs that incorporate all that information in a way that people are going to want to stop and read it. It's a bit hard to pick whether I'd want to read all those or, look at a big one, I suppose. But I thought I did read, I can't quite find it now, where there are other places who have done this, other towns and areas that have.
Karakia.
Akaroa was the one that was identified by Doc, like from, kind of where the idea kind of came from.
Yeah,
And we looked at that and saw certain merits and its attractiveness and its cohesiveness, because we're presenting obviously as a unified kind of source of information, working with different agencies and showing the costs and that kind of stuff in space as well too. So
yeah,
working together
yeah.
for the same.
Do you know of other areas that do it too?
We haven't looked into that,
Yeah.
just used that as an example. It's great. So, yeah, I have got on the PowerPoint presentation a kind of a draft idea of what it would look like. One of them, it's kind of a mock-up of one of the agencies, I believe. Yeah, one of the agencies, I think it was MPI, highlighted the fact that what if the legislation changes on their side of things, because obviously within each agency things do change. But this concept is having 3 separate signs showing, but they're cohesive side by side, so they're represented one.
Layouts the same.
And so the theme would be kept across the Tasman, so people would recognise certain things in each spot would have its own information, whether it be navigation safety warnings and or DOT might have certain areas where they can hide as well. But then if a regulation changed, that particular agency could take off their sign and put up a new one without disturbing the other two. So you've still got the cohesive of working together, but you're still separate entities, but sharing the space.
Have you got a time still frame for this?
We're on discussions on takeaways. I would like to, I think sort of a 12 months to 2 year tops going around all the areas, because we've got quite a big area to cover, and identifying every location and its merits and looking at what's there and what needs to be there. Totanari was the place where we were starting, which is the top left-hand one, which is pretty tired and so that's an area used a lot and popular. So by starting with an area that's, I guess, one of the easy ones to kind of get to and populated once we've done a couple, I think.
I noticed Tata Beach isn't on the list, but I think that's probably one of the main ones that I would suggest we look at.
Absolutely. And I was at Port Terracotta this morning and looked at the different signs too, and completely different areas showing, certainly is it an ideal spot where you could have one cohesive sign like having the walls displayed attractively so people, they know their responsibilities and to be, aware of those.
And I guess that we're going through a navigation bylaw process that we are workshopping tomorrow actually.
Yes.
And dogs. And
Yeah.
dogs are coming.
And the dog draft bylaws,
That's the
yeah.
following.
So I think the timing
We do also have the brochure coming out, our voting and safety brochure that comes out at the beginning of every season. So if we can replicate any changes and updates in that brochure as well as going on the signs and this navigation safety bylaw and kind of addressing all those kind of things all at once and everything to get out to that. Be consistent. So we give them a consistent message.
Yeah, so here's a question for you too.
So with these different agencies, obviously EPI have their own focus, and you've had some real challenges tracking down the actual people who are sort of signed people in EPI. Same with DOC.
Yes.
Like they're big organisations, and getting into them and trying to figure out what actually happens, on the ground has been quite challenging for Kelly. Obviously it's a little bit more straightforward for us because we know the players. But I'm wondering about whether you envisage a wider sort of role for the community board of being some sort of sponsor for the work that you're doing, some sort of means of actually bringing them the attention to some of these other agencies that this is important for this community, because you're looking to focus first in Golden Bay,
Yes.
and then roll out across the rest of the region what you learned from how best practice in this region. Is that sort of part of your message today?
Yeah, definitely. Understanding obviously every agency's got their own agendas and having that kind of cohesive role with the backing of the community board. Therefore, the community kind of speak, yes, we need this, we'd love it to be together, and it's a really cohesive kind of plan, getting everyone involved. We've identified that by using a third-party design kind of concept person, because everyone will have their own in-house design people, but we're trying to keep it transparent with regards to costs and the same thing across board, rather than each of them kind of having their own, and everyone's going to be obviously competing for real estate on the particular sign by having allocated spots. It's up to them on what information is around they display, and having that transparency with the one design kind of agency kind of doing it up and working with them. You're going to save a bit of time. A need for each agency being the contact person to oversee that sign in that area. Golden Bay would have a block and that kind of people overseeing those signs, and being able to make it, liaising with them, make a dot people where they would have that kind of stuff. So therefore, the same with some of the areas in Golden Bay which are quite remote. Along having that bar up there on signage and that sort of stuff there is quite a remote sort of place, but it's really important that really navigation safety to be identified. People to be aware of it before they take on that risk and activity.
I'm just thinking about the special seafood Thai restriction areas out on the west coast. As to whether or not they'd be included or not, or would they be separate?
That
iwi, well, that's what those little fish-shaped things are, aren't they?
the little fish signs are the catchment and what you're allowed to capture from the areas. Yeah, that's what they are. With regards to the little fish.
Yeah, do they refer to the matatai on there?
I don't think they do. They're just fishing regulations and what you'd be catching at area and how much. If it's something specific, we could certainly look at discussing that with the MPI, whether they feel that it's definitely something that can go on there, or whether that changes or not. It does seasonally or things like that.
It changes with when something's been fished out enough, it gets closed and the next part open. That's what is set up so that the community will have access to power, really. So anyway, but that's something to think about, isn't it? About
the rules and regulations.
It's MPI, isn't it?
It is, It's the whole customary framework. So you're targeting the recreational sector here.
Yeah.
Customary's got a whole pipeline of Fisheries Act, which is all dedicated to the tools. Mātai, Tai Āpure, and temporary closures are all part of the tools. And the Kotiaki are the ones that actually drive the enablement of those different things. So there's a story around that, which is, I imagine MPI would want to be able to tell more holistically other than these are the rules. So it's part of the challenges they face to say how could they simplify their messaging into a one board scenario. But Akaroa faces that. They've got Tai Āpure, Mātai,
and they've got a number of logos along the bottom.
So,
obviously,
and they've got that band down the bottom, haven't they? They've figured it out to say here's the DOC, the MPI, the ECAN, the Cross City Council.
Yeah, and it shows unity in that everyone's, working collectively for everybody to the best practice and stuff. So that would certainly be something we would bring up with MPI about, it's that message about rules and regulations that does fit within that, the message you're trying to say is big conversations with, whether it would be an idea to, and it wouldn't be, referring to like sacred sort of areas and places and things. We didn't think this was the best thing, we didn't be able to do that, it's kind of information, obviously in consultation with them to really sort of get the blessing and the knowledge that we do this.
So it's just thinking that it's probably a lot of the design work for NPI and DOC if they're involved in that one in Akaroa. Have you been in touch with the people who designed that sign? I mean,
I know that is one of the guys was getting back to me on that particular design and how they did that.
potentially you could just a lot of the information would be the same if it's national legislation.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the tables and things that NPO have done have been with graphics done, so it's a matter of just supplying those images for the designer to put them, on there in the logos. So those kind of things will really be done in-house by their own designers.
Yeah.
And then for that, we'll be able to display image costs broken down.
Be a good thing, I think. It's just some of our sites are just terrible. Aren't
Yeah,
they?
it's
Just
so
shocker. You arrive, it's just this mess, and some of the signage is so old and it looks awful. And
so it's really exciting. So whatever the community board can do to help support.
You heard it first here.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I think everyone's
Appreciate
like,
that.
so I'll just, I know the side's good and the side's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, very good.
Okay.
I mean, certainly at times though, when there is say a sewage spill or something that happens and other signs have to, pop up, that's still going to happen from time to time.
Absolutely, and it would have
That's
to.
okay,
That would have to.
Yeah, that would be.
And then you can up and down, and we have, we've made on our TDC website, we've created a space too for notifications of those to go. We're going to be pointing towards lots of information like that, where people can go on QR code on the sign and find more information about things, and where we call maritime incident and all those kind of things. So they have got the leaders to access if they want to go into it further.
Oh, okay, so yeah, the information will be there, but the QR code.
The QR code
Takes you into a deeper picture.
Yeah.
So, and then from that, they can easily one click contact Harbourmaster Office. Go to the outside and look for
good to know. Good, you're starting over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Kelly. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you. Okay. So that brings us to our discretionary funding, of which there are three. The one for the museum, which I believe we approved in principle last time, did we not? Did we? Was that my imagination?
You did talk about it.
Did we approve it?
No, the museum conversation last meeting was around the placement of the mural.
Right.
It wasn't
It
about
wasn't about the
funding
money
or
contributing.
contributing towards
That's
the,
what we approved in
which is
principle.
what, it was about the
We
placement
suggested
of it
that.
on the building. So
Put in funding
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so all those in favour of the mural support? Hi. Anyone against? Lovely, you're all done, tick. Oh, sorry, Chris. I'm just going through them. Did you have a comment?
No, I'm just a processing around the resolution.
Yeah.
So we're just doing a little informal yes or no at the moment.
Yes, for all of them, we need to discuss all of them and then we can formally resolve them at the end. Is that all right?
Mhm.
Okay, first aid, we have requested funding for, first aid. RDA have requested funding for the first aid course for 2 of their volunteers at $390. I know that we have funded this in the past.
Yeah, I was looking back for it actually. I don't see it. but
Yeah, it's been a while ago.
Yes.
I don't know why or how I remember, but I do.
I mean, they obviously need to update every year, right? Is that
2
those
years, I
things?
think,
Every 2
for
years?
first aid, 2 years.
Every 2 years.
2 years.
Very supportive of RDA, fantastic organisation, lots
Yeah.
of volunteer work, help them if we can.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Everyone in favour of the idea?
Totally.
Lovely. Forest and Bird would like to purchase a chainsaw.
Yes.
To everyone's gone, oh, I was. They would like to purchase a chainsaw for their volunteer. They've been given $1,000 from the Rural Service Centre to help fund some scrub clearing, and they would like $500 from us so that they can purchase a chainsaw for the volunteer because they're going to use $1,000. I was a bit confused because $1,000 to employ someone to spray the planting thing. Volunteer work will remove, and so they put four people at 12 hours, $48. So I guess it's just a wording thing for me. But anyway, does anyone have any? Kristen, Celia?
You've got a nice little electric jobby for that, probably might be what you're looking at. Just to go, I don't sort of get the program of it. I mean, good work, important work to do. Is Docker involved? Can we borrow one from them? Like,
I'm not
just,
sure who's authorising yet.
I'm just trying to work out the
And who?
Who's going to be
the amount of hours. It seems like there's a discrete sort of project there. Oh, that's a volunteer work hour. So I don't sort of get a sense of how big. I mean, you know what? It just seems a little over to
For a project,
give money for a chainsaw that's for like a particular. I mean, if they said this is 6 months work, or we're going to work on this for 2 years,
or with the penguin boxes where we bought tools, but they were going to be there for all the projects, for everything.
I mean, if we were, surely we'd say we need to make, they need to make it available for other community people doing conservation work to use or something. I don't know, just.
Yeah, correct. Celia, sorry.
I think one of the issues might be that it's people don't want to lend their chainsaws. You know, what they say is you don't lend your
Lawnmower.
Yeah, I know.
you don't lend your husband or your chainsaw. I was going to say your wife or your chainsaw. But I was
Noted in the won't say how they come back.
yeah. But, you know, just to make it.
Yeah.
But so I think that might be part of the issue is that, you know, that they're doing this quite an extensive weed clearance so that, you know, the sand has been obscured by weeds, and that in order to expose the sand which birds can nest in, they have to actually basically do this clearance. But I do appreciate that it doesn't seem to say, you know, the scope of the project for this.
And once the project's complete, do you know if they'll have any further use for it?
So that's
will
the
it just
question.
be sitting in the shed
Yes,
somewhere?
yeah, that is the question.
Grant.
Yeah, I do have trouble with volunteers using chainsaws. They don't know what they're doing, obviously. And it doesn't really say there's anyone who's had just as volunteers, and it kind of, you know, makes me a little nervous being part of the chain of getting a chainsaw for somebody who may or may not have the experience to use it. An electric chainsaw is still over $1,000. Well, no, maybe it depends on.
You can get little ones that are really good for big gorse.
Oh yeah, I'm just thinking more about the, you know, and the batteries are, you know, where you charge it if you've only got a half-hour life doing it when you're out on the beach. I don't know how practical that is. Being a person who uses both types of chainsaws, I'm not too sure how practical it is. I think what Celia said, we don't have a hire place in Tākuta anymore for hiring these things. Otherwise, I would be very strongly suggesting that.
Your point about the volunteers grant, I'm just saying here, volunteer work involves removing pampas, lupin, and planting spinifex. So I think the employed person is the one that would be doing the chainsaw.
Yeah,
that's what I take from that.
Okay.
So, well, thinking perhaps they could employ someone who has a chainsaw.
Yes.
I mean,
well, it would be, job required must have own chainsaw.
Have a
there's
chainsaw.
a lot of people around who do clearing, you know, they eventually
Chainsaw allowance.
and yeah. it might be better
Or is something
to
terrible
support
happening?
some extra hours to pay a qualified arborist.
Or maybe that would be a better use of the.
It's just,
Well, it's
Well, yeah, well, not
just-
necessarily an arborist, but
Yeah.
someone who has the ear and has the skills to. Rather, I mean, surely anyone who is capable of doing this most likely has already their own.
So are we erring on the side of declining?
I wonder what their bank balance is.
We don't know.
Well, it's one of the things we're asking
don't
for in
say,
the
yeah,
future,
there's
isn't it?
no-
Around it, we just get little basic statements around,
Yeah,
you know, because I imagine, I just thought they might have a bit of money in the bank. I don't know why, it just feels a bit strange to.
it's funny, isn't it? It feels
Buy
like
a
that for
chainsaw.
everybody. Yeah, and for one small project.
I don't know how small the project is though, Celia, you think it's a big project?
I have sit
Or for
down
one
at the,
project.
it's that road, what they're doing at the moment is at Rotatai, clearing a lot of vegetation off the Rotatai sandspit, which has been overrun. But I don't know whether this is actually for
Can
that
I-
particular place.
It's
Can I
Three
ask a
Rivers, so
question that
Yeah,
might
so
be?
Three Rivers is, it would be, it's not just that, Three Rivers, so it's right down the coast.
Can I ask a question regarding the vegetation? So has it been planted there, or is it
No.
just nature being
No,
nature?
no, it's
Weeds.
weeds.
Weeds
Weeds.
coming on.
Weeds being
Yeah,
weeds.
yeah.
Weeds
Yeah,
being
it's
weeds. So
like-
it's nature being nature.
Yeah, no, it's gorse, I think it's
Oh, gorse,
gorse,
yeah,
through,
okay, but there's
and
some
tree soon. Things like that.
One of the other
So much.
trainers.
Just on that basis, I'll give it a chainsaw to get rid of it all.
How do you say that, Harry?
So take a suss there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Take a
tree
suss.
soon.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Okay,
Yes, tree
large
soon.
ones.
yeah.
all right. So where do we land? Where are we landing?
We could buy 3 pruning saws. I think your point's great, Henry, like you just get someone, you employ someone
Yes, that works for the
who does that
chainsaw.
sort of thing.
For helping hands.
I think hands is a good idea. They've got loads of chainsaws.
Yeah, I think we should
Qualified people.
back into.
Make those suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would be a good
Alright,
way of supporting two organisations.
Mm.
But, you know, and in principle, I'm very supportive of the great work they do. It just seems it's sort of an odd way of going about it. So like,
And my quick question is, have we given forest and bird money last year or so? Oh,
It's on the list.
Does that list go for the last year? Actually?
what's the current cycle?
Yeah.
They did ask for some money, didn't they, for signage? What is that?
Yeah.
What do we do?
It was.
It went back to the
What's wrong?
start,
Yeah.
because it's always start from.
That wasn't a discretionary fund application.
No,
Okay. So
We haven't had a financial, sort of financial report with this, have we, or is it?
no.
11 is the previous
Yeah,
applications
yeah.
for this year so far.
Right,
This is-
For the, no, I mean, for forest and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's what we're.
I think there's something about the lining up of volunteer time, so 48 hours altogether to pull out the lupin and the whatever, canvas and things. It will be like 4 people doing 2 6-hour days each. And to buy a chainsaw to
Just
cut
for
the
that.
big trees that I just maybe that, I just can't quite get the scope fitting
Yeah,
in with.
I mean, if they had said, and then we will use the chainsaw for this, this and this, we've got plans, I probably would have less of an issue, but at the moment,
Robert?
Yeah, I get the health and safety aspect of it. It's a chainsaw. And
Okay,
that, like, there's no budget. I mean, it's just a
no,
chainsaw purchase.
and there's no, oh, they have added a link, haven't they, to the one they want, $555, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work,
Oh.
but they have
What is the picture?
Brand account number provided with the application.
just so it's not on here. And then the mural, oh, that's a mural, image, we don't want that.
And actually, sorry, Debbie, you know, I was just thinking about the $1,000 to employ someone. Oh, I'm a bit mixed up about this. I don't know why I can't get it in my head.
I think
$1,000 to employ someone, they're gonna spray as well as use a scrub cutter
Yeah.
to cut and paste balls and broom. If I've got a good one, I mean, if you've got a blade on it, you can cut maybe
Yeah.
4 inches, 5 inches, 4 inches. So I don't know if this is different, who's using the chainsaw.
That's-
But anyway, if you paid someone $30 an hour, which isn't very much these days, it'd be a 30-hour job to spend $1,000. I just can't line it up.
So I'm happy to move that, sorry, my computer's just decided to shut down and restart. That's fine. I can do that. I'm happy to move that the community board receives the report and grants the Golden Bay Museum Society $500, Golden Bay Riding for the Disabled $390, and declines Golden Bay Forest and Bird. Is it second? Right?
Well, I mean, that sounds good, but I would, no, I'd like to support this weed eradication project somehow,
Yes.
but they have to go back to say,
Yeah,
this,
and
we're
say-
not going to buy your chainsaw, but maybe we could sponsor someone with a chainsaw. If they've got a day's work with chainsaw work there that
Yeah.
it's doing, then perhaps we could.
Yeah.
You know,
Advised to contact.
Just, yeah,
Helping
because
Hands or what.
it doesn't really.
$500 to help your hands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that would be,
yeah,
I think
so-
that would be money well spent.
Yeah.
But yes,
Go back- we can go back and
if
suggest
decline
that
it,
to them,
maybe go
but
back to
yeah,
them
well, in our
with some-
messages, we can offer
Yeah.
them some
And then
suggestions.
they can go back and they can put another funding application in for that.
We'd say to them in the letter, wouldn't we, that we're very supportive of the work they do.
Yeah.
And,
Yes, absolutely.
but maybe that was just a little difficult to get a grasp of the scope of the amount of work
Yes.
the chainsaw would
Would
do
do,
for this
yeah.
project.
Yes, that's my struggling point. I'm not sure what we're going to do it afterwards. Will it sit in the shed and
No
Health and
questions
safety.
about
help?
health and safety.
Yeah, okay, I'll make notes. All right, so on that basis, so we have to move and have a second for that. Seconded by Robert, all those in favour?
Aye.
Great, and that is the discretionary funds done. Time check. Do we want to have a quick 5-minute, 10-minute coffee stop or we carry on with?
Carry on.
Carry on, Roger. Board report, we are, board report. So items from previous public forum, oh, sorry, we'll receive it at the end, don't we, Jeff?
Let's talk about the cycle and walkways that Chris Bennett brought up. He actually asked a couple of questions, and I know it says here the submission document was noted. I don't know if those questions are going to be addressed, but the submission was 2 requests.
Yeah.
One
the
was
community
TDC to
driver.
acknowledge responsibility to ensure safety. The other one was to ask for funding from TDC to construct the park.
So I can talk to that,
Yep.
because I had a conversation with Rich Kirby about that, and it's a very, very tricky area of roading because of all the issues surrounding it. So they are working with it and on it. They're aware of it, but and it's not being ignored, but there's several layers and steps.
So are we going to send Chris a
Chris is aware of
letter?
this.
Just
He
officially?
is, from the board.
Well, he's asked questions, we need to respond.
Has Chris been directly involved with conversation with Richard
I'm
and
not
that
sure
process?
if I could connect them, couldn't I?
Yeah, well, I think we should send a letter just to let him know that, maybe. The other thing was, in the technical note, there was a recommendation as well. Recommendation A, and that in its technical note.
Oh, that
which
is
was
one more.
about the fact that there was a problem on the Pahara water. There's going to be some rectification to be done on the
Is this
Pahara.
still talking about Chris?
Yes, still talking about Chris, and he put in a report. I can probably find it for you. It was just
What are you talking about, Grant?
I'm just going to find it in the.
Is it Pahara or Tarakali? Because Chris was talking about Tarakali,
Yes, he was talking about Tarakali.
so we can't bring in Pahara.
He put it as part of his report and as what he minuted. Just find that. It's,
Just a report to the board.
Oh yeah, able to them from Pahara to Tata Beach. He wanted us to champion his report.
technical note, which is on page 6 of what he put in, and it says we need to avoid repeating the mistake in the Pahara water connection project where road safety was not considered from the onset, resulting in 2 major road safety hazards being introduced to the corridor, which will now require expensive retrofitting to try and correct.
Yeah, I think again Richard Cooley's aware of that report.
Do you know what that means?
No, that's what I'm asking.
So when is this to do with the water running around from Pohara Valley through around to the port? You know, Kim?
It's a job that's finished now.
But it says it needs fixing.
I don't understand what it is.
What about the RMX fixer? He's been responded to for that, by the staff.
Okay, sure. I'll connect back to Richard and see if he can help me with a response to him from the doctor.
Well, just to understand what it is.
Yeah.
I don't quite know.
Yeah, it's page 1 of his technical note, tabled document attachment 1.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
It's clause A.
Thanks, Richard. Second item was the support sort for the installation. Staff has already been in touch with Mr. Condell regarding this, and that's all. Lisa's item on the WCO was answered by the presentation by Muka and is it Lisa? Muka and Kat, sorry. One of my. Oh, so that was public wrong from last time. Oh yes, so the inward correspondence was a request for the support for the provision transportation for rural sport teams. So she's asking us to. Are there any old buses the council can donate to the club or the rec centre?
No,
Not really.
Not really.
no buses.
I know that the football organise their own, rugby organise their own, and it's just part of the subs. You pay extra and they organise the van from your coach lines and parents drop off. I haven't had to drop been here.
There's a travel fund nationally called something Sport Travel Fund, maybe, and we allocated out in the grant subcommittee. So I'm on that committee, and those come in twice a year. I think there's a winter summary sort of sport thing, and the sports that apply from here are like rugby, football, I think netball. Some money goes for the kids, the young people that go over the hill for volleyball. So there's quite a lot of money, quite a few $1,000s comes into the bay for that sport travel fund.
The other
so I don't know whether I was just wondering whether she's wanting something extra than that to happen, or if she understands there is that funding that happens
go
with
back
that.
to her and give her a list of it all.
Yeah, in her letter, she mentioned they put in an application to the Rural Travel Fund, which I assume you're talking about, and they got less than half, well, for 11,000, but it's less than half the yearly expenses.
Yeah, what sport is it?
Football.
So all the clubs apply from
Yeah.
all of them,
Yeah.
so say there's
Mm.
$40,000 to give out or something, I'm making it up. You know, we get applications for 80,
Yeah. It's
you know,
really-
so it just doesn't,
But I don't think as a community board result, we couldn't sponsor a bus, and if we were going to do it, would have to be several buses to get all our kids that need to get over the hill and.
yeah, I don't know that we can do more than what council sort of does around that.
Respond back to a letter.
Responding in the way that would
Yeah.
be that, you know, yes, we live in a rural area and we do have to travel over the hill, and that's just part of it. I mean, we don't have anything to give.
Yeah, we don't.
I mean, I do advocate really strongly over there because things get apportioned a certain way, and I'm there really trying to get more for here. And I say, you realise it's, you know, a couple of $100K return, and you know,
It's all day.
and trying to get more for here based on, you know, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
People, there's a club that applies for, you know, a pony club applies. People that have their horses and their floats around.
It's a bus.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Golden Bay coastline subsidised bus. Does it go on a Saturday morning?
Not to
It
the
wouldn't.
extent it would
It
need.
costs a lot.
It does.
Each team would need a van.
Yeah, I mean, I think the clubs work it out, don't
They
they?
do.
I mean,
They
they have
really
cars
do.
going with parents, and they
Yeah.
have little
Parents
minivans.
contribute
and-
to the cost of the fuel.
So
Really,
really,
give them $5 and.
it's a question that we get allocated so much in
Yeah.
Tasman, and then we reallocate it out.
Yeah, as
what-
fairly as we can,
Yeah,
as you can, sorry, not we. Alright, so are we all happy with
I
that?
don't know how else
We
they get
respond.
more.
We'll do that, alright.
That's interesting.
A letter was received from P. Watts regarding the placement of the rocks, which was sort of stuff comment. Those rocks were, docked,
Totally.
so, and I think now I understand they've been removed.
Yes,
They haven't been removed, they've been widened, so
Widened.
they've been widened so you can get access for a wheelchair, but
Not a car,
not a quad bike.
right,
So
So
according
quad
to
bikes
the,
are going.
so the dock guys have said they recognised that when they were first there, they were just dumped there, but they weren't organised, and that's when there were problems with it. Now they've been
Right.
placed.
Excuse me, have you got the latest information?
Well, that's as of today from dock.
Of today?
Yeah.
Okay, because,
That's, yeah.
because mine was from Facebook, so I wasn't entirely sure. that-
right, I was under the impression that they were coming up, they got to remove them entirely.
I thought they were too.
That certainly did not come across when we asked a question today about what is the, status of those rocks.
All right, thanks. So as far as docs are concerned, they are going to stay there, but they're going to be widening.
They have widened them to create access,
So I said that in the very beginning, you've got to have the wide to get all those wheelchairs and stuff.
and apparently it only dumped them in the first instance, and everyone got caught up before they placed them. So Solly's dumped them, they're now placed. That's what the dock guy said to me.
So we.
Do we, so in the board and TDC, is there some relevance here?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask, well, I want to ask the question is that because these rocks are in a place where quad bikes are going up and down, going onto the beach. Now I believe they're going at either end of the beach.
Yes,
Is that an issue for us?
yes.
That's,
It's the unintended consequences aspect of our discussion with Doc to say, by just doing it, by solving a symptom here, hasn't looked at the wider problem.
that's what.
So that's unresolved.
And there's also the issue about some.
The surf line.
Oh, so couldn't launch it.
Yeah, some of them also.
Ready to go and rescue people.
Yeah, couldn't launch.
Right.
So what are we going to do about the other ends to stop?
But is that still dog land?
No, it's our issue.
Is it?
Well, we need to make some assessment of it, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
To
we
see
need to
what
go out.
if it is actually happening, and
Well, there's a whole vehicles on beaches discussion with live discussion with the council.
Okay, well, that's good. Can we include that in that, Kim?
Yeah, which includes looking at the success or otherwise of where vehicles on beaches bylaw has been passed. and that is now in court, in the top, another way you're in the top of the set. So these things are not easy because they have unintended consequences. They stop activities which are legitimate in order to prevent activities that are not.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. From my point of view, it was just interesting that there was. I guess I'm going to say that there was no like discussion or information from Doc to us. The rock, I know it's not our land, but where they dump the rocks, but they're saying we're going to dump the rocks. This is
Did
weird.
it go to council?
Why would they tell us?
No,
It's not our land.
No.
Because of the unintended consequences, and then just so that we're aware, so when the community comes in.
But we just redirected them to Doc and they learned
Yes.
a valuable lesson in communication.
My discussion with
Just
Doc did
communication.
indicate that there would be value in bringing these things to the attention of the likes of the community board, so you can consider these wider issues and whether there might be unintended consequences. And that was taken on board.
Yeah, I didn't
Right.
realise there was access at the other two ends.
The communication, but the-
And here's my other point, we don't, because we have a community board member assigned to a portfolio of different organisations, NGOs and government organisations. And I think we've got somebody who sits in with Doc. Isn't that our connection with Doc? We don't? Should we?
no.
Well,
Because it's-
So we don't have a meeting.
They're
but-
officials.
yeah, and I don't think that would have even, I don't know.
They don't have any meetings anymore.
No, it would have
That's
just
what I
been
mean.
done.
No.
But just like we heard a presentation from Kelly today, would it be a possibility or a suggestion to bring the new doc manager along to have a chat with you?
Yeah.
And have a presentation of their issues and bits and pieces?
Because her roles, isn't Andrew's roles a community something or other?
Yeah, he is.
I was thinking more of Ross
Yes.
being the
Yeah.
pivot
Yes,
point.
I see that. I was just thinking about that they do have a role that is a community
Yes.
based role, and how does that fit in with
Yeah.
community board?
Shall we invite him along?
Both of them.
I said that an invitation may be forthcoming today.
All right, Jeff and I will invite Ross.
And maybe bring Andrew with him, because
There we go.
he's been around for a while, knows.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
I'm adding it to my
there's
notes,
much
but I will
dog-
come and need to
dog
rest you some.
land, but it's, the community come to us.
No,
so
no,
Yeah, that's right.
We can have some good information about
And,
background.
and Ross is familiar with community board interactions from Christchurch, Canterbury. Role.
Cool. Awesome, right, I'll do that.
And just on that, I think, to be honest, unintended consequences, if their aim was to stop vehicles getting onto the beach and disturbing the birds, then perhaps what they've done is actually worse than that, by funneling vehicles through where the birds are roosting. So that, if nothing else, it would be better to take the rocks away and let the vehicles go where they were.
I'm trying to educate people not to.
Yeah.
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 It's a very challenge.
Doc have a role in looking after the wildlife. We also have a role as a unitary council to ensure fauna and flora are protected as well. So I think it's a joint decision to look after.
And particularly the area where they are,
Yes.
it's an area that the council has management responsibilities for.
Yeah. So now we have two areas that are going to be used that are us. So yeah, but can we actually, what are we going to do about that?
Nothing.
No,
We're gonna meet with Ross.
We're gonna invite Ross and Andrew to a
Well,
meeting.
just see where some common areas of interest might
Yeah.
be, so use it as a,
And get a bit of a strategy. would be-
he's been here 12 months now, so he's getting his feet on the table, he's bought property, so he's here to keep, here to
Oh, good.
stay.
All right.
It
It's
might
part of
be-
your community.
Excellent.
It might be too that, you know, our,
Not like that.
Yeah.
All right, we will invite him and have a conversation with him. All right.
No,
Uh,
no, I haven't been.
better off funding, there's not a lot to discuss here, but thank you to Chris and Celia for your email and make sure that we were kept in the loop, going back and forth, so really appreciate it, thank you. Long-term plan submission done,
Want to talk about the hearing?
folks. Well, yes, I was just about to say how wonderful, glowing I was about.
So
Yeah,
congratulations.
that's right, it was beautiful. But it was great, lots of councillors here. Everyone except for Tim was here, Tim, and Mark was on Zoom.
Tim had an excuse to
Yes, he did have a good excuse, so. And the hearings went well.
I can't remember what it was, but it sounded good at the time.
It's been 100, we're here to 150 people over 3 days, so 1,000 submissions in altogether. 150 people spoke for 5 minutes on their submission. 3 days worth. So,
Here or over there?
Richmond, Woodwicker, and here. Yeah, it's good. It was great hearing from people. Yeah.
It's good, thank you. All right, special projects funding. So we've added in, it's not on the chair report, but it is on the website, Jess. We've added in the Rockville pool,
Oh, yeah. Cool.
because we just had to get, that's why I sort of had to get an agreement via messenger, so then I could officially email and say, yes,
Yeah.
please. So that is now live on Shape Tasman.
Yeah.
So Joe, this is our special projects funding, where we have identified 7, I think now, is it? 1, 2, 3?
7.
Yeah, 7 projects in Karakia, Collingwood, Golden Bay area for funding. They are on the Shape Tasman website for public to go and rate their preference. And then that will close on the 16th of June, which will allow us to discuss it at the next board meeting in, I think, 1st of July. Yeah, 1st of July for consideration. Chris.
What are the ways, apart from Joe's fine writing, that may appear in the weekly alluding people to this, what are the ways that the board is going to let people know about it? So when are we due for a newsline piece from
I've done,
you?
yeah, I've done the newsline piece. That's
About
in
this?
the next one. Yeah,
About this?
so that's in the
Was
next
there
newsline.
items listed, choices, very good.
Yes.
And what else might we do? Would we put something in the weekly as well?
We could.
Because we don't want to do this and not have much of a response because people don't really know about it or think, he's scared what I think.
So we're going to put it on the Facebook page. I'll get Sarah to do that. You'll share it on Facebook. But yes, I think an ad
okay.
would also work.
And that would go, that Facebook post from TDC would go on the community notice page.
Yeah, and then we can share it around. And
okay.
but I think TV Weekly ad would be effective as well.
Yeah, we want people to really know about it and to do it. And to rave about the Rockville community pool. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I did want to look into, as an aside, how come, just to see what money they are receiving from TBC and how we might need to up the ante there if we were underdone.
Something I'd like to do, but I just knew that this was sort of, time critical, so I want to make sure that it's, get in there now, and then we can look at other, I'm not sure what the funding sort of regime is, but they've got some good things they want to do there, but stretching for that.
We need help
months to get it done. So.
I have a question. Where did we get costs from?
They were. I did reply to the. Did you see the message? I did reply.
Because the costs seem.
The costs aren't on the website. They're just generally there for us, but I'll just find it. So I worded it really well. I'll find it. It was very, so the costs aren't on the Shape Tasman page for the public consultation. They're guidance figures for the board. We debated leaving them in as they'll still be public for anyone that can be bothered going to look through the agenda. But they're a guide of sorts for when we start discussing the project. So $7,000, I'm granting you were concerned about that, the tunnel house.
Yeah.
So it came from materials, construction, internal watering, and basket and material replacement. So very loose costs. So they're not by any means, it's just a rough guide for us when we start planning it out and discussing it.
The other question is, have we closed it now to different things? Because obviously, have we discussed whether or not public had a say in? Oh, there's this project you could do.
We talked about that when we came up with the list, and decided that we were happy with the ones we've chosen, but we can add it in as an option.
There's quite a few things up there already, and most of them are pretty valid, aren't they? And given the amount of who's here there, the money that's there,
It's not huge.
There might be, I'm just thinking there might be projects, there might be projects in the community that were quite valid and quite, and that we haven't thought of.
Yeah.
And I know we brainstormed among ourselves with it,
So-
but I do wonder whether or not it should have,
So Jess has just
gone
mentioned
back out to the community
that
for
we
that.
can add a section in there for comments, so that we can receive feedback. So we're happy to receive that.
I would like that, actually, personally. I think, we need to hear what the public is like, submission in a way.
We were gonna go to Lions and see if they had
I have
something.
talked to the Lions. Yep, I have. They
They got
haven't,
anything they're cooking up?
nothing yet.
And,
So they are going to add possibly an A to the file.
A what?
Hmm,
A what?
probably in the macro.
I'm back on here, so I've been liaising with Wendy about that. I got some advice from Tiahu around, the correct
Totally off
spelling
topic,
of
but I remember we
Not.
discussed it.
So do I need the name?
And just to note, they are required to register.
Yes, so we had that discussion
Yeah.
and I made we made a decision that on here you are required to register, so you can only do one submission. Otherwise it could just be click, 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 I'll do another one, click, 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 click. So it takes about 2 seconds, I think.
Also,
It doesn't take long.
Registering requires a
An
first
email.
name and an email.
So it's not hard.
My other question came from public forum today about it being ageist to do all this stuff digitally, and I think that actually was a valid point, and I just
Do you?
don't know how. Yeah, well, some people are still,
I
older
don't.
people in our community
I don't, because I've been
still don't.
served several times by that particular address on Facebook. But
So you think?
Well, yeah, sure, but I'm not.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
But
That's right.
she might be
all the time. Hilarious.
She quite likely is also speaking on somebody
yes,
else.
absolutely, I take that as,
And
yeah.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Having also been aware of the other side of that conversation, that happened with that instance. Jennie was contacted by the staff member and given exact details of how to register.
Yeah,
It wasn't made particularly difficult.
So I'm not talking about
So
that
that's
particular
the
instance, I'm
yeah.
talking about
And
a general.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about.
What's your
one.
suggestion, Grant?
I don't know, how do we, I mean, I guess,
What's your solution?
yeah, I know in this day and age we've gone so digital, and I really appreciate the lack of paper big time, saving forests, and I appreciate our position here, but I just wonder if it isn't gonna, we're talking about going on Facebook and reporting in the paper, which is good. But I just wonder if we don't have another way of kind of bringing in the
Library.
Well, the library.
Well, yeah,
Can't they go to the library?
library.
Yeah.
the library.
the library?
Yep, that sounds like we
So we can
don't
put
have.
that in there.
But that
I'll
wasn't
put that
good
in
enough
there.
for Jenny either, though, so
No, it
she
wasn't.
could have gone to the library and people
Yeah.
could have just not there for her, and she
Sure.
said, no, that wasn't gonna
But
work for
then,
her.
that's, what else? I mean, what
So-
people used to
so
do, right?
Had Mrs. Morris come in store, the CSO on the counter would have turned the computer around
Okay,
and completed
yeah.
the form then and there. But
Yeah.
Mrs. Morris called in over the phone and we cannot receive registration over the phone for public forum. It must be received in writing.
But she's actually
So-
not my point. She's
But in
that's
general,
irrelevant.
anybody
So
wanting
Come
to
on. Sorry, Chris.
register.
So in terms of this, would you also accept from people if they write in? I mean, it gets silly, doesn't it? Because then what, people are gonna write a handwritten letter and post it in or drop it in at the counter to say, I choose the Rockville pool, what they do. If you can email, you can do that.
Hmm.
Like, so what's the solution? It's like, well, what's your other option is come in here
Yes.
and
Come into the
register,
counter. Come to the counter.
go to the counter and someone can just fill out the thing for them.
If they, now, coming to the counter is going to be difficult in this instance because it is locked to an IP address, so only one computer can make a submission. So we can't get 30 submissions for one thing or 30 submissions to sync something else from one person. We wanted to make sure that it was fairly weighted for people to be able to have their say, but not have undue influence at the same time.
I
So-
do wonder
so-
how many people this will affect as well.
So if somebody wants to have a vote, daunted by Shape Tasman, doesn't
They can
email
come in and
either.
see us,
They could come and
and
see
we'll have
you.
that information. We will hold it here, but we're gonna really encourage them to use this. Because
So-
the tools and behind us are much easier to present that information to
Yes.
you to make your decision with.
You imagine it wouldn't be so many people, but so my point that I'm eventually getting to is that, so when we have something in the newsline, or if we have an ad in the weekly or whatever we do,
I can mention that in.
say that, you know, this is available to go on, and for those that,
Yes. I'm just thinking I should email Sarah right now. To update them.
you know, people who are unable to utilise computers.
Yeah, well, and then we can put that in.
Or if somebody,
Or if people ask us.
two or three members, and say there's adult members living in the same family, only have one computer between them, you only get if they have different.
I thought we'd come by email address.
I'm not sure, I have to confirm that.
Can we double check that? I thought it was
She said
email.
You just register it. I had a look. You just put your name and then your email
Email.
But
address.
only allowed one.
No, they're not.
Should be
I
okay.
don't think that's the case. But I think, you know, is what Jenny's raising true? Is it ageist? I don't know.
Could be also just.
I don't know how many elderly people who don't use the internet, don't have access to a nephew or a grandchild or a daughter.
And I do have to say, you know, we have. If people come and, or, yeah, I think it will
I
be
think we
okay.
just have a little thing that doesn't,
Encourage it, but just says, please no,
if you're unable to navigate blah blah.
please come suggest.
No.
Well, the library.
Library.
We'll word it up. And
Yeah.
it'll be okay. All right.
Even just
Excellent.
encouraging them to call the customer services team if they need assistance to.
There we
support
go.
them.
I'll put that on my
Make this
list
a-
anyway for front edges, so.
Yeah, because we have alternative options there if people ask, but we really want to encourage them to use this tool.
Absolutely.
If they have the ability to do so.
Absolutely. All right, thank you, everyone. Good input. Moving on to our action sheet. Just to request no yellow broken no parking lines. How's that go?
I requested them.
Cool.
And
Well,
I believe that Robert Dick got in touch with you, Grant, about that.
He rang me for some clarification.
Yep.
That's all, and
we'll leave that on, I'll follow up.
Sorry, Abby, we just need to receive them.
Oh, sorry,
report
receive. Oh, I thought the
Yeah,
action
she-
sheet was part of
under
it.
the report.
Oh, sorry, it is.
It says now,
Sorry.
good. Right, all good. Grant, you were going to raise a road concern around user safety with Maureen Pugh.
Yes, well, the email has been sent. I think I CC'd you in. And I got a reply back from the secretary saying that she's going to hook us up. So we eventually will have a meeting with Maureen Pugh. So start your list of what we need to talk to her about. Because it'll be very insightful, I think.
So that
That was only one thing.
The Salisbury Bridge Restoration Group, of which I'm a part.
Yeah.
Thank you, board. Also wants to meet with Maureen Pugh.
Good.
Okay, cool.
So if we can just coordinate with Bruce Collins, who sort of organises us. About fitting around it with the group.
Yeah, I made
And I'll
the
let you know.
suggestion.
I'll let you know if we've got dibs on the things.
Well, I made the suggestion that we meet here in the meeting room sometime. And you know, separately and have a good cup of tea and a good chat.
I don't know how often Maureen's here. Do you think she's
No,
here?
well, you know, it's easier for one person to come over to the hill than 6 of us to go over there. And yeah, there's a few issues that I believe we have to talk to her about.
Particularly Sam's Creek, perhaps.
That's probably, that did come up as one of the issues I popped to her, and also things around housing and lack of housing for professional people moving to Bay, like, you know, nurses, doctors, and lawyers. No, teachers, sorry.
Lawyers.
These are lawyers. But you know, those are the sort of things I think we need to look and talk to her about.
Yeah, we can quite a list, couldn't we?
If we get a list and give it to her
Quite
at
a
a
list.
time, then she has.
Yes, that's right. So maybe
The things that the,
I'm happy to.
speed limit at Onikaga.
Yes, so I'm happy if you all email me your issues.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you all email
Awesome.
me your issues, I will keep coordinating this for us.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Grant. That's great. And I haven't talked to Mike about moving the operational funding, so I'll do that on my list. I missed that. Sorry, thank you for that. Okay. So that brings us to the end of our chair report. So we can now receive the board report. I'm happy to move to that be received. Chris? Oh, right, it's already in. All those in favour? Lovely. Received and gone through. Beautiful. And financial update. Robert, it's your time to shine.
Just in time.
Anyone have any burning questions about the budget? Robert, are you happy?
No,
You happy? Great. Oh, well, if someone like to move it, be accepted. Moved by Celia, seconded by Henry. All those in favour? Lovely. And that brings us to the end of our board meeting.
Can I just remind you about the draft bylaw workshop tomorrow morning that you've all been invited to? So 5 bylaws and a decent old presentation from the Harbourmaster on the navigation bylaw and the draft dog control bylaws there too in the documents. Cats,
Okay.
public places and
Just the water.
a water thing.
Can we big on?
So, and even if you don't want to participate in the workshop, I recommend you having a read through, particularly dog control. I mean, it's a while before it gets out. I think it's July before it gets out to public consultation. So, but just to have a look at it and have a look at it.
Thanks, Chris.
So you know,
Most critical part is the navigation safety.
yeah,
To be in play, new bylaw in play this side of Christmas.
So is that a sort of being prioritised in the chain?
and there's some good questions in there raised in the workshop material around, you know, you do this, do you do this?
Yep.
Do you do this? No. Yep, so I encourage that. I'll be chairing that, so I'll keep an eye on Zoom for you. And this week over there, we've got our deliberations report, the beginning of our deliberation meetings with the long-term plan. I don't know if you've looked at those documents yet, they'd be available now for the public.
The deliberation report. Yeah. Still following it up.
The submissions.
Deliberations is that our open meetings?
The meeting will be, you're saying the documents are not ready yet.
No, the deliberations meetings this week, Thursday, Friday, they're open meetings, aren't they?
Yes.
They're not confidential, they're full council meetings.
Yeah.
So if you have a look at those documents, you'll see where things are sort of heading.
They're not, they're
Around-
on.
Yeah, I don't have them. Unless
The
I'm
document
wrong.
itself won't be available until I think 3 o'clock this afternoon. We've got comments
Okay.
coming through.
Oh, okay.
It's still being composed.
So then it'll be on Big Ten.
So,
Yeah.
and to get the Zoom link for that workshop.
It should
We
be
got
on
to
your
send an
calendar.
email.
When
Oh,
calendar.
Is it on your calendar? Because I've seen the deliberations report, but is that, I see, I thought you might have had it too.
No, I haven't. I can't. I haven't got any of the draft stuff for tomorrow yet either. But I might be in the wrong place.
Yeah.
It went to the community board.
It came to our community board and we got an email.
It was circulated.
Might
to the
be-
Yeah,
community
do they have the
board.
documents?
Yeah.
It did.
You've got submission responses, but then you've got the deliberations report, which is after all the hearings. Which is the thing that's still being compiled.
In there, I mean, it's worth a look at to see what's being recommended to be funded or not. If all those things like flowers and submissions we received. And of note probably there's a few things of note for the Bay, but one thing was that Mana Whenua ki Mōhua put in their submission about a cultural facility to house the Anaweka Wakapis. And after the submissions here, councillors were going to do a plant walk through at Fonterra. So I, and Margie and a couple others showed the waka. They went to see the waka. And so Kim was there and Richard and quite a few councillors came. And so that's been a very good thing to do in terms of where we might be heading around where and how something gets built.
The other thing is.
Oh, sorry, my point. Sorry, I missed my point. Was that in the deliberations report? It's got a statement in there that TDC will begin discussions with Mana Whenua and other parties around the housing and display. So that's good.
Yeah. The other thing is that there is a group who put, this is a new thing, it's a community funding agency, which there's been a lot of support among all the community groups for. It would be similar to Tasman Environment Trust, whereby I don't know whether you can have been involved in this at all. I mean, I'm interested to know whether you are or not, because you actually are involved with a lot of community groups.
Yeah.
But they're actually asking for 100,000, which they're looking to get. But
Each year.
Yeah, it's in order so that they can have put in their funding applications in a much more effective way. What do you think? What do you think about that, Robert? Do you think that that's worth? It's similar to Tasman Environment Trust.
I thought it was more like an RDA, but from community development side.
No, it's more
community
like
development.
It's more like because Rachel Sanson rang me about it, and she's sort of a bit more onto it than I am. But she said it was more like Tasman Environment Trust.
I don't know why she would say that.
Well,
Umbrellaing the whole thing.
yeah,
Because
it's
there's other
more like the structure would be more like Tasman Environment Trust, where they do a sort of administrative role for voluntary groups in order that they can actually leverage funds, say for a youth centre or that type of thing.
I didn't read it that way at all. I thought it was more of a development thing that helped all those NGOs and agencies develop themselves in terms of governance and management.
Yeah,
and
well, it may be that it wasn't.
coordinate. That's how I read
It wasn't
the-
very clear, so you and I have got different ideas already about what it, you know.
I think I might just close the meeting and then we can continue. No, we haven't done Karakia or the official closing, so well, Jess is like,
You've been writing all this down.
so I'll just officially close. If I can pass over for Karakia with Chris and Robert, and these people can continue discussions at will.
Which one?
I don't know. Okay, we can leave.
Shall we go here?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Oh, hang on, I'll just do Karakia.
Karakia tātou. Kua mutu a mātou mahi mō tēnei wā. Maki tia mātou o mātou o mātou whānau katoa. Ai o ki te aorangi, e tau mai ana. The work here is finished. Looking after ourselves, our friends and family, peace is in the universe, and it's settled upon us.
Right, yeah, thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody. So, meeting closed.
Tara sent me an email.